Hello.
Yeah.
So this is a small session that we have added. So it will be a follow-up discussion after the block we had this morning where we were speaking about IoT and IoT security. So we have prepared a couple of questions for the panel, but we also have microphones for you if you have any questions as well. So this is a good time, good opportunity to getting a more detailed than you were able to get during the session in there. So I have a first question to you all. My weirdest experience with using IoT devices is that I did a firmware upgrade on my light bulb. That felt really, really strange that I have a light bulb with an IP address and that I could do a firmware upgrade to make it a better light bulb. What is your weirdest experience with using IoT devices?
Oh, I came up with that in my presentation. So I brought that Bluetooth bulb 1 year back, and yeah, I don't know, suddenly it started acting spooky. It was glowing and glowing off, and the color was changing on its own. So yeah, that was a spooky experience. But when we tried to investigate that, we found out that yeah, somebody else was controlling my Bluetooth device. So that was a weird experience I had with IoT device.
Yeah.
So I would say, well, depends. Do you consider a toothbrush an IoT device or not? So my toothbrush informed me that, like, hey, you haven't brushed in like 2 weeks. I was like, okay, I just didn't connect you to my phone. It's fine. I was using another one, yeah. So
you were cheating on your
toothbrush.
toothbrush.
I was cheating on my toothbrush, yeah. So yeah, my toothbrush Bluetooth connected. Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Do you have anything, Rossella?
Well, it's not so much weird. How is like the change of the time? The fact that for switching off and off the light, I can only use the app. There is no physical switch. So if I have no battery in the phone, there is no light in the house. This is. But it's not. It was not actually in my house. It was a friend's house. So it was good to know.
Yeah.
So you all three had the presentations just before. And what was your biggest takeaway from some of the other presenters' presentation? Did you learn anything, or did you get another angle, or was something new for any one of you?
So for me, it's very important to have this kind of presentation because they help us build the business case. So it was very good, as I said, to have these two first presentations because exactly they depict what are the scenarios and what the attacks that are out there. So it's important that we understand what kind of threats we are facing and what is the impact and the magnitude they have. So the first two presentations was exactly what I needed to introduce the security measures.
So when I talk about my takeaway, so it was like, I mean, Dan's presentation, I have quoted a lot of points in my presentation. So actually he helped me out to pick up some good points in my presentation as well. And yeah, and honeypots and how they are getting attacked and the signature which they were going through, that was kind of something interesting. And yeah, we definitely want to look into that, but however, it will be a little tough for us for now. And another thing from Anisa's presentation, it was like we found a new, something new. I mean, we can go through their site, we can find out the documents. I spoke to her. So I told her my boss is going to be super happy after he goes through through her site. So that's a point from my side.
Yeah, I realized that actually vendors don't give a rat's ass about security. And this was something I noticed like 5 years ago, and you confirmed that it's still happening. I was hoping it was not, but yeah.
So what, in your opinion, what is the biggest security challenges we have? Is it the vendors, or is it the big numbers that we see when you speak about billions of devices, or is it that we have the lack of regulations and there's no laws that says what you should do, or is it that just we have the wrong definition? The IoT itself is a problem, or is it that just people are lazy? So we'll have all this stuff and all these lazy people and they will not upgrade.
So big number is not so scary, mostly because it's normal. This is it's like technological evolution, yeah. So having a big number of devices, it's just normal. Like consider like how many computers were connected to the internet 20 years ago, and then we all have our smartphone connected to the internet. The big problem, in my opinion, is that these devices have been introduced on the market without any regulations. But this is like kind of normal. Think about how internet was developed. No regulation. There were just like some RFCs, and that's it. The problem are vendors who don't know, are cheap to, or they refuse to patch their software. And the second problem, in my opinion, are users, because one, they don't basically say, okay, you vendor X, you're vulnerable, please, I'm not going to use this software anymore. They don't penalize the vendors. They just, okay, fine, this has a vulnerability, I don't care. And secondly, users don't, they expect that if they plug in a device, they just want to forget about it, which is kind of not the mentality you would like to have.
So, in my opinion, it's like all of us are responsible. Vendors are mostly vendors. I mean, they are responsible. Then people, when we say about IoT, so IoT is we can say it is having so many components. So it is having mobile, it is having network involved in it, it is having firmware. A lot of things are getting involved in it. So I think all comes into picture whoever are dealing with these components. Yeah, and we also as end users, we should be aware of these stuffs, because the other presentations which they spoke about, that was like really highlighting the stuff that yeah, we should be aware. There should be security awareness in them as well as us. So it should be both sides, but yeah, mostly they should be more aware. That's my take.
Well, I agree with both of you. I mean, I think that we don't have one problem here. We have a lot of different problems at the same time to tackle as soon as possible. So I think the first problem is the life cycle, and introducing the security in the life cycle, because we have developers, manufacturers, so we really need to bring the security into IoT, and this was also the name of your talk. And then, yes, to raise the end user awareness, but I'm also talking about the company awareness, because also companies and organizations are bringing IoT in their infrastructure. So this is why we tackled the verticals in the past, and this year we wanted to go horizontal, because the reason is exactly this. We need to bring the security into the IoT ecosystem. Up until now, we didn't have. And this has several repercussions, because then we have the liability, the component, so who is liable. We have the update and the patches. We have the end of life. We have the culture of security, and the awareness of the end user. So it's a constellation of different problems, also due to the different use case. Because when we talk about IoT, we talk about IoT, but then you have to look into the different use case, because if you put IoT on the transport infrastructure, then you have the safety concern. If you put the IoT in the house, it's another use case with other threats and other different requirements. So I think the multiplicity of the problems you do on the use case, on the different, also this multi-stakeholder, because when we talk about the supply chain, the life cycle of the products, all the different actors are involved, it's a very, very complex problem. This is why we are trying to tackle. And I think there is not one silver bullet. There is not one solution. We have to really understand how to tailor security for the different use cases and in the different scenarios, and then start one by one to tackle this.
So just to summarize, what you're saying is that anyone who tries to have a simple solution to a complex problem, they are probably don't understanding the solution or are very stupid. So so you have to understand as to tackle the hard problem, you have to do a lot of things.
This is why, for example, we wanted to having a clear overview like the one I presented of what is IoT, what system, what tasks are in place, what kind of threats, what are the fact that you have to consider everything end to end. You also have to consider the interaction with the other, because then maybe you define a solution, but the hardware doesn't come to you. The chip comes from another. So it's the entire life cycle. Then you put it on top of an infrastructure with a specific use case, and then you have a user organization. So it's such a complex problem that really we need to start defining what we're talking about, then defining the threat, the security, and then discuss what is the best solution. But at the same time, we have to do a lot of awareness everywhere.
So we have microphones here if anyone in the audience have any questions. So please raise your hand. You will get a microphone if you have any questions to any
Get a free prize.
get a free beer tonight.
Yeah, free beer, yeah.
If you don't have anything, I could continue. We have a list, but yes, please, Jens.
So we are talking about securing IoT. Many IoT products come from China. Most of them come from China. So we're making the European Union secure somehow by some means. Let it be certification, let it be some import restrictions. But that doesn't help for the majority of the world. So any ideas if a vendor just want to make a product cheap?
So I'm happy I'm the moderator now, so I could give the question to someone else.
So I kind of agree with what you're saying. I would like to point out the fact that most of these devices are not designed in a bad way, like they're not designed with backdoors in them. So just to make this clear, like most of these flaws are just like mistakes or hard-coded passwords. And the reason for hard-coded passwords is that, if the user is stupid enough not to like click on the web interface, we can just SSH into the camera with hard-coded passwords, and we can just make the changes for him or her. And problem solved. The user stops calling us on the support line. And then something else bad happens. So they do come from China. I don't know exactly how much you can like force them to stop using this stuff. I don't know if you can ban them. You know, like say this device is not secure enough. I'm just waiting patiently up to a point where there's gonna be an attack so great that people will start reacting really badly. Like up until now, like DDoS attacks, fine. It came, it went away, no damage done, like no harm done, like fine. But then maybe there's gonna be a DDoS attack affecting like services for 3 days. What do you do then? So people will start reacting. I don't know. What do you think?
My take is like I agree with Dan in this point, and plus because it's their mistake, and most of the time they even you don't need to do firmware analysis. You can simply find out those machines out on Shodan. You can see on public networks this DVR is running or something. So you may try default passwords as he told that time in his presentation. Yeah, that can be tried out. But the thing is, when we report to vendors, so we have seen in our case, so there was a Bluetooth speaker I was trying to research out. I tried to contact them. So I said there is a security bug. So they weren't even, bothering to, get a call back, to give me a call back or anything. So yeah, most of the time it's, we can't just say only Chinese thing, but yeah, it was a very well-known Bluetooth speaker company. But they weren't bothered about securing it. But yeah, it will come if, they have a major breach, or as he said that, in his slide, he said that shut up and take the money. That should not be the case. And I'm giving the money, so you should better secure my device and then give to me.
So from my point of view, one thing that we can do today is, first of all, educate the user. And when I say user, I say both end user and organization. So we can educate them to have security requirements. When we talk about industry or private sector, and procurement guidelines with very specific security requirements. At least this is something that, and for the end user, this is the big battle. In the sense, it's quality over quantity. In the sense, we really need to educate the end user to request security. and to develop a consciousness about the cybersecurity risk that they are bringing to the house if they buy a cheap device, whatever it's from, because if it costs $10 or 10 euros, and the equivalent on in their own country is 60 euros, there is a price to pay. But we need to educate them to understand what kind of threats they are bringing to the house. For example, this is what, for example, we did with Smart Home. We had clear guidelines for the end user on how to buy smart devices to bring into the house, what to look, what to change, for example. And but this is difficult. It means a lot of work in awareness of the end user. For the industry, for the private sector, I think we have one different option, which is exactly the procurement guidelines of clear security requirements when, for example, we talk about critical infrastructure of operator of essential services. So for this, we have the minimum security measure next year. And in this way, you mitigate a little bit. I don't say we solve the problem, but we put the first step to mitigate, because we have baseline security requirement for operator of essential services. And if they are using cheap devices, then I don't think they will meet the baseline. But it's a lot of awareness. It's a lot of work, and I think we have to put into account that in the near future we will not solve the problem. And it will take a lot of time, because really the user, he will always say, okay, if I have the same, and it's like cheaper, but everything is written in a different language. I don't know what is written. I cannot look into it. I will never do the firmware update, but it costs less, and decide to go there. Okay, then they will find their video stream on a screen somewhere, but the problem is really to educate, and educate for the end user consumer side, for business side. Then there is the factor really to bring security into the posture of the company or the organization, and this we are trying to integrate with the minimum security measure, and we will see what will happen in the future, because I think that in every member state, and maybe the European Commission, there is a debate on what to do. So, yes, a lot of work.
So I have one question here about the terms Internet of Things and IoT, industrial IoT. Do you see there's a really good IoT devices, or are they just rebranded consumer things that someone tries to sell for much more money? It's the same crappy firmware, it's the same bad design flaws in those type of things. Any taker?
Unfortunately, I can't say a lot about this stuff, because I didn't work on the industrial IoT stuff. I hope they're better designed. That's what I can say about it. I just hope.
My take, even I am not having industrial IoT background, but what I can say, both are different things. Most of the people, they just to put under commercial umbrella to sell off their devices, they put IoT and SCADA and IIoT under same umbrella. That's not a good thing. Both are different things. So I can say that what I've read till now, and from my previous discussion with some of the members who were here last night, so they told that IoT, like most of the things we see, like smart devices, which we have with the smart watches, Fitbits, and GPS trackers, and other things, so that we can count under IoTs. But industrial IoT, SCADA is something very different. They are like very different from each other. But yeah, companies, just to sell off their products, they put everything under same thing. So in IoT, we involve mobile apps, network, as I told earlier. So all these components are involved. I'm not sure about SCADA, but yeah, I don't think that these are badly involved in them.
So from our side, I hope to give you a clear overview, like I did today for IoT, for the study next year, because we really want to dig into this and to understand what is the perimeter, what are the different use cases, because when we talk about industrial IoT and smart industry, industry 4.0, smart logistics, smart agriculture, smart manufacturing, so there is a lot of discussion on how to apply IoT on top of the legacy infrastructure, on top of existing industrial infrastructure. And we want really to understand if the threats are different, also because the deployment is different, the use cases are completely different, and also because you said we hope they are designed better, but we don't know, and we have to see into this. if this is true. So I cannot give you an answer now, but I can tell you that we are exactly trying to go in this direction because we understand that we need to look into it and do the same that we did for the horizontal part, and also to help organizations who are putting IoT in their existing infrastructure to secure them. Because, as I said, we are bringing the attack surface directly on existing infrastructure. So it's another layer on complexity. Here we have different problems because we can, and also different solution because we can have like security procurement guidelines. We can have the minimum security measure if it's an operator of essential services. We have the support of the verticals in some member states because we have cybersecurity agents with specific verticals dealing with this. We have the information sharing analysis center for some from some sectors, but I think this is a threat model completely threat model to be identified and new challenges because and this is something that we really hope to be ready to answer comprehensively in 2018.
Okay. I have one last question, but I will just give everyone a chance to give a hands up. So, has anyone seen any good example in the IoT that they have the shiny example with good security? Hands up, both the panel and from the audience. Or do we only speak about bad security stuff? Two?
Good security.
Yeah. So we are still having a lot of things still to see that the things will be better security-wise. Okay, I would like to thank everyone in the panel.
Thank you so much.
And now give them a good hand of applause.